to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King and Joel Elston. Today is Thursday. It is May the 30th, 2019. It is 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, and 10 p.m. in Sydney, Australia. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And since it is May 30th, I have to send out a happy birthday wish to my Uncle George, who lives in Schenectady, New York. He is 103 years old today.
Woo!
103. How about
Get it,
that?
Uncle George.
A little longevity going on in the family. So, yeah.
So you got plenty of years to look forward to.
Absolutely, yeah. And on my mother's side, my great grandmother lived to 108. So, yeah, I've got
Nice.
sides.
Nice.
It's really good. So anyway, we are celebrating the fact that Joel is back from his excursions, and it's always good to have you back on the phone, Joel, particularly because when we start off and I'm playing the music, I can always count on you to be making noises in the background to just add a little ambiance. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Never a problem. I do my part.
Absolutely, you do.
Well, and I also will point out to the audience, Walt has the ability to mute me at any point in time, so
Facts.
he's a participant in that background noise.
He's an enabler.
This is true. Of course, then again, you can also mute yourself, but we won't go there.
I've never been good at muting myself, Walt. Never.
This much I do, Joel. This much I do.
Yeah.
This is also a fact.
Yeah.
I do want to take a moment to get a couple announcements out of the way. First and foremost, we are in the last 2 days of casting for our audio play that Alex and I have been working on for a couple months now called The Grass is Greener. Tomorrow is the deadline. If you've been thinking about sending in your submission to be perhaps one of our cast members, we'd love to have you do that. Just make a little 20-second selfie video on your phone and send it to walt@loatoday.net. We'll be glad to include you. So, if you've been thinking about it, don't think too much longer because tomorrow's the deadline. And on top of that, I also want to remind people who are not yet subscribers, become a subscriber. Really simple to do. Go to loatoday.net and it walks you right through the process. And then, of course, be sure to share after you subscribe because that way more and more people can get their daily doses of happy. And since I have Alex on the show, I'm going to let her tell you how to subscribe and to notify yourself on YouTube. How's that done, Alex?
Okay, well, you go search on YouTube. You go to LOA Today Podcast Videos. And once you're there, you hit the subscribe button. And once you've done that, you can hit the little bell right next to the subscribe button. And this is only on devices. This is not on Macs or PCs. So
I found something out, actually. Apparently, sometimes it does show up.
Really?
I
I don't see it on mine.
Because Linda was telling me, Linda Armstrong says, well, I get it on mine. I'm using a desktop. I said, really?
Okay, so
Cool.
erase that last comment.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure that part out. But the point is, it's often available.
It's often available. So you hit the little bell and you will be notified every time we go live. And once you're listening to us live, tell a friend to tell a friend.
There you go. There it is. It's just that beautiful. So those are our announcements for the day. And beyond that, the only other announcement is that Joel's back after a couple weeks off and 1 week on. So hopefully this becomes Joel back on a regular basis because we miss him when he's not around.
Do we? Just kidding.
We really do. We really do. Yeah, he's a good guy. That's a good thing. Now, I don't really have a specific topic in mind today.
I do.
You do? Oh, okay. Well,
do.
we'll come to your specific topic in just a moment. I just want to share like a little general story, and I actually shared it yesterday, but I'm going to reinforce it today. Listeners will remember that with the Zoom platform that we use, there were times where the live streaming to Facebook or YouTube, we're now live streaming to YouTube, was causing problems. It just wasn't working properly. And I actually started getting to the point where I was frustrated with Zoom, and I canceled that part of the package and so forth. Well, I gave my reasons to my contact at Zoom about, why I was doing this and told her that, I found a solution that doesn't cost me anything. It actually works every time that I want to do it. I don't have to mess around like I do with the Zoom. I don't have to be spending time paying money to Zoom while I help their engineers to resolve issues that they should be able to resolve on their own, all that kind of thing. I told her all that. And she said, you know what? I appreciate what you're saying. That was about 2 weeks ago. She apparently passed it along to the higher ups. And now Zoom offers the live streaming capability with their regular pro plan, which I already have, which is cool. So, I mean, that was an unintentional law of attraction thing going on there, right? I put out there what I really wanted, and they gave it to me. How cool is that? And how often do you get that from a company, right? Most companies, it goes in one ear, out the other. If you can get it past the customer service person, you're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did. I got it past the customer service person. So, Joel, you're not the only one with great customer service stories now. I've got one, too.
That's awesome. And I do a lot of my billing through PayPal. And what I've always appreciated with PayPal is they were, and I don't know if it was unique to just a few people or everyone, but they have sort of a feedback thing that they, instead of just taking it, they actually do. And I've had 3 or 4 suggestions, and they were within 2 days had my exact suggestion put in place. Very, really, really responsive, called me, asked me, engineers spoke with me directly trying to understand, because of course you can imagine my initial description was not anything close to what I was trying to say. And they were great. They got an idea of, okay, well, I need to be able to do this, and do this. And they were just amazing. So I love when companies, it is law of attraction, and like Zoom, you realize that these companies, those are the ones that have great growth ahead, because they're very receptive. And when you're dealing with companies that have great customer service, and, PayPal is a big company and Zoom is a growing company. So for them to be responsive to somebody, I'm just a tiny little piece of what they have going on, but to be that responsive is very impressive to me. And I'm also a very loyalty. I have a lot of loyalty to companies that, like for example, years ago, I have, when I was recovering from my horrible devastation in my life, from my addiction and all that was accompanying that, Bank of America gave me a checking account and a small credit card when nobody else would.
Oh.
And it was, no matter what you think of Bank of America, I am freakishly loyal to Bank of America because that was 22 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not always pleased with everything they do, but the fact that I never, so I tend to be very loyal, with companies. And, my financial situation has changed greatly since then. Now, their investment in me a long time ago, or maybe risk in me, that I would turn things around, really turned out to help them in the end. And I make sure that's why I like that. I like what Zoom's doing. It makes you more loyal as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
No doubt about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also an object lesson once again in LOA, because at that time, Bank of America put out there that they thought of you in terms of being a good, healthy customer instead of a deadbeat customer. They put out a different vibration, and look what they got back. I mean, now you're an excellent customer of theirs, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's how the law of attraction really rewarded that initial step of theirs to put out that vibration.
Well, and that's exactly how you do it. And when when customer service often has a great analogies to law of attraction, how you approach your customer, or how you approach different things is really important when you understand that. I mean, I'm trying to come up with the best idea. Like when I call someone with the intention, I often use my Comcast telephone calls over the years. Years ago, I was preparing for negative calls, and I almost always fulfilled that. When I changed my perspective and called with positive calls, I've almost always had very good, they've been amazing. So it's much more me than I've understood for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. That's law of attraction.
It is. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, Alex, you said you have a topic for us today. I think it's about time we roll that topic out. Tell us about it. What do you have in mind?
Okay, so I've been noticing on the Law of Attraction Change My Life group, and this is a subject that comes up a lot. Wow. And it usually comes up as in, how can I use Law of Attraction to get my ex back? But I want to focus on how to feel better and become, get back to the old you after a breakup. Because I think that's the more important part, rather than trying to get that good feeling back that you thought you had with the person, but it obviously wasn't too good of a feeling if y'all broke up. So
yes, this is true. And Joel, I'm willing to bet that you get more of the first question than you do the second question. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The second question is the one they should be asking.
Exactly my point.
So how would you answer Alex?
I mean,
okay. Reframe that for me one more time, so I've heard which side am I answering there?
All right, let's do both. So what would you say to a person who wants to law of attract their ex back? How would you answer that?
They want to law of attract what back? I'm sorry, I had a little difficulty hearing.
Their ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or.
Okay. Well, there we go. Well, like I always say, the two things that get people to law of attraction are money and relationships always. Mm-hmm. And so when I want to attract back something that I lost. And, first of all, where the law of attraction, and this is even covered very basically in The Secret. Actually, she gets in depth even in The Secret about this. Mm-hmm. You can attract for you, but you cannot, let's be clear, you cannot interfere with what someone else, I mean, you can try, but other people are attracting where they're at. So number one, if it's been a difficult breakup or that person is in a whole different mindset, you can't get back when somebody else, another person, or interfere or get into their manifestation. So the idea that I want to get somebody back, especially, that's what it almost always comes down to me is people come in, they had some type of dysfunctional relationship. They don't realize it was dysfunctional. First of all, they have an unrealistic view of what that relationship was. Mm-hmm. So let's start with that. It's like, oh wow, this was so great, I want to get that back. Well, they can't get to the level of vibration because they don't understand what their vibration before was very negative. So like you're saying, the real question is, how do I fix me? How do I get me on track? And then I'm open to new things. But people get stuck into repetitive, attracting the same type thing. I've shared openly before with a lot of the clients I've dealt with. One in particular sticks out is he was in a very, very toxic relationship with this a female that had what she would do is she was very, I don't even know what her mental diagnosis was, but they would have a fight and she would get furious with him. And then what would happen is she would then say, you have 5 minutes to get out of the house or I'm calling the police and telling them you've been beating me. Wow. And then they would make up and this just kept repeating. And finally, after a while, he realized this is very toxic. I'm going to end up in a lot of trouble. And he viewed it as love, but it was more of an addiction. That's what happens a lot. Mm-hmm. So he kept saying, and then he would break up with her. He was convinced that he really loved her. So, we got him to a place where he knew she was very dangerous. So I said, why don't you take 6 months off a relationship, work on you and try to get things straight? Well, in 2 weeks, he said, I met this wonderful woman.
Oh boy.
And he described her to me. And I don't have I'm pretty much, I don't cover my shock very well when when people see something. So
me too.
So he said, I would love for you to meet her. She's so much different.
Oh my God.
If I were to show you a picture of these two women, you would think they were twin sisters. And within 3 weeks, he shows up at the doorstep of my house with his bag saying she threatened to call the police on me.
You sure it wasn't the same woman that tried to pretend?
Well, first of all, it was the same woman. She had an entirely different name, an entirely different world, but it was the same woman. But this is law of attraction. This is really important. But then this is before I was really understanding law of attraction. When you look back of his ex-wife, she was the same woman. Mm-hmm. He was attracting this because he was the image that he was somehow that very intense, what he viewed as a great passionate relationship was very dysfunctional. I see it on the other side. When I worked in many years ago, I filled in at the crisis center in Tampa, and I had multiple. Well, this is sort of not one case, but sort of a multitude of cases. I realized, the very first one that I do remember was a lady showed up. She had 2 kids. Mm-hmm. She had her bag. Her husband had beat her. And really bad. I mean, really bad. She'd been in the hospital, and so we had a secure location. It was a confidential location. and nobody could get in. You know, they had one thing that they did very well in Florida at the time. They had a sort of almost a relocation program for battered women. They could have put them in a protective shelter, get the kids in school. I mean, it was a really good get their life back on track scenario. So I was excited to be able to offer her these incredible benefits. Usually I didn't have many. In most of the cases we were dealing with, we had very little resources. But in that one situation, we had a lot of resources. So I was like, we're going to get her an apartment. We're going to get the kids in school. Get counseling immediately. It was just, so I was filling out all this couple hours worth of paperwork. And when I looked out through the window, I had one of those windows you can't see and I see out. I saw her sneaking out the gate, getting into her husband's car.
Oh my goodness.
And then as I'm reviewing it, she kept finding, you know, she had 7 men in a row that physically assaulted her.
Wow.
in her life.
Ah.
And so it is like whatever she's attracting, she would describe it. Well, her baseline became, I believe that our relationships are passionate. So he only beats me because he cares so much. And then he's sorry and they have great makeup sex. And then all these things happen in it was so incredibly toxic, but she kept attracting this. I don't know men who beat women. If I did, well, first of all, they wouldn't be in my orbit, but I just don't know them. So the fact you could go find 7 of them is incredible to me. And this is what you see with the law of attraction. So when you're to go back to the original point, you know, how do I keep attracting? How, you know, the big question, how can I quit attracting what I've been attracting? Because your mindset is, I need to have that void. I'm sure you know people, this may be the norm. They can't stand not having a relationship in their life. So they're willing to, accept anything almost, or even maybe more importantly, they're able to, or what they do is that they don't understand the feeling of what a healthy relationship is. So they have no baseline to attract it. So when I'm working with people, I try to, you know, and very few people get it at first. One of the things when I'm working with people in relationships, and they say, I really want to invite somebody in my life, and especially if they just got out of one. So we're going to take it, minimally, we're going to take 3 months off and do the opposite. We're not going to be let's work on you. Now, that seems crazy. Most of them want to get on dating websites and do all this stuff really right away. And, you know, but when they do that, they're able to adjust what they're feeling, because you want to attract what you're really seeking. It's not a relationship that you've experienced before. So you have no emotional feeling of how to tune in and vibrate. So when you understand what you're really trying to emotionally vibrate and bring, that's the answer. So it's not you know, when you say, I want somebody back, that works never. I mean, that just never works. If you broke up once, the same issues are going to be haunting you, and it just gets repetitive. You'll see people do that multiple times. Before they realize this is done. So, you know, I always encourage people not to try to attract what you have because of what you had before wasn't working. Try to attract something new and what you really want, not what you think you want. And that is so hard to do. It's you know, it's such a tricky thing in relationships, because this is stuff that was formed in our earliest childhood. Our behavioral patterns toward relationships were modeled by our families and parents and people around you. Oftentimes were dysfunctional. So you don't even, so that reprogramming, it's harder than about anything you can do with the law of attraction, especially in the relationship that has been, you know, I keep finding dysfunctional situations.
So let me ask a follow-up question here. Why do people fail to realize why it is that they keep attracting the same toxic people over and over again?
It's how that applies to almost everything, but you know, in life, you get conditioned behavior. You know, with any, it has an addictive component to it. I don't want to go full blown, oh, this is an addiction, but it does have an addictive component where you keep using the same coping mechanisms, you know, of what have been developed. And instead of identifying it isn't the people that are the problem, it's what you're attracting that's the problem. That's law of attraction advanced. And that's so, Rhonda talks about, when you approaching it from, in The Secret, she mentions you attract someone by making space in your life for someone and what that person will bring to you. Another human is not going to fix you. If you get fixed first and then you attract what you really need. Anything that you are attracting in an unfixed or a damaged state is going to almost always be damaged because you're attracting with a faulty field of energy, or a field. It's not faulty, but it's a negative field of energy. It's like, I hear people, say, well, one of the things that 12-step rooms, while I don't agree with a lot of what they talk about, but addiction rooms that use a 12-step principle, they often say take 1 year off from getting into any new relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's very sound advice. Now people get very, oh no, my recovery will be when I have a partner. I have several examples recently of people I know that they get into these intense relationships, and they're almost always what I call fast burn relationships. They start off, they meet on a Friday, they're in love on Saturday, and they're talking about how quickly they can get married on Sunday. And that might be an exaggeration, but it's close to that. And they're spending every waking moment together. This is my answer. This is my answer. And they're often and then when things quickly fall apart, you go through a whole relationship cycle, in a few weeks, and they fall apart, and the person that's trying to stop drinking is devastated again. They start drinking again, and the cycle keeps repeating. One of the things that you get damaged, and I'm not trying to assign roles here for sex, but I'm going to just use general terms because this is like what mostly happens. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of females that have a need to fix men. Yes. It's like they need to fix the men. And so you find what they're looking for is damaged men. So you find like a lot of alcoholic or men that have been in rough situations, and they're the perfect candidate. So a woman comes along that's looking to help, and then a man who's desperate need of help, not wanting to do the work themselves, they come together. And while it appears to be a perfect match, they're both getting what they need from each other in the beginning. It's not healthy. The woman's need to fix, she's not dealing with her own issues. The man's not, need to not deal with his own issues, let the woman do all the stuff. And it could be either gender, as I said, but one of the things that I have always been fascinated about, even before I get into the psychology of life and humans, is why do women, like when you get somebody on death row, women write them. Charles Manson got married knowing he would never get out of prison. And it's just, there's people attracted to the need to fix. They're unfulfilled. I often see, in working with foster care, a lot of people will get into the foster care system not to help children in the way that I think they should be helping, or the way that it seems like the most healthy way to do it. They often get in it with a child is going to fulfill them. And with the fulfillment of the child, I'll be better. And those situations just never work. It just, that's how, when I do training with foster parents, one of the first statements I say when couples are there, if you think having a foster care child is going to help your marriage, you need to get up right now, go get you a dog, and start there. Because the one thing I promise you is a foster care child will tax the most healthy marriage and will guarantee end an unhealthy one. It's just you got to be super healthy in the relationship. But we often are looking for outside sources to make us feel better. So trying to look at it from the way of why am I, just like Walt's question, what are we doing with it? Everything's conditioned behavior. When you keep applying the same exact strategy over and over, and then you're baffled why it's not working, that's just conditioned behavior. You don't know what to do differently. So you keep applying the same remedy, And then while it can be short term, like if you look at a heroin addict, you're going, okay, this is crazy. This guy has created all these problems. He's a heroin addict. He's created all these problems. His world is falling apart. And yet his solution to these problems is to go do heroin. Well, it's not even logical. It just makes zero sense to do that. However, to him, to an addict, it's just like, wow, well, this is life. You see people applying the same remedies without adjusting them first. The lens in which you view the world or you view your own life is hard to change. When you change that lens, then you can see things differently. But that lens has been installed for years, so it's a very uncomfortable feeling to change and say to yourself, maybe what I have been doing all these years is not what I need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great breakthrough when you can get to that point, when you can actually say, what I've been doing all these years isn't working. I mean, when you actually are saying it to yourself, it doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels like you just crashed and burned.
Right. But that's what a breakthrough is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and one of the things that happened, one of my favorite sayings is, for the phoenix to soar, it has to first crash and burn. It's early in my addiction recovery, I had pretty much alienated everyone. I ended up in a halfway house, and my family wasn't speaking to me. My girlfriend was done with me. My friends were done with me. I just had nobody. I was very isolated and I had no one in the very beginning. And everybody there kept, they had a lot of family support, and they, old girlfriends were still involved, or wives were still involved. And from the outside, I was the only one that had no one. And from the outside world, everybody kept saying, oh, I don't know how you do it. You just don't have anybody in your life, and everybody's abandoned you. And which, by the way, I never viewed them as abandoning me. I'm the one that they needed to abandon me. I was crazy. But I happen to believe, in retrospect, I had an advantage without all that. I had a better shot at recovery because I was stripped down to nothing. There was nothing left. It was raw, and I had to rebuild from nothing. What a lot of people are doing is trying to fix and keep from losing everything while they're in the recovery process. I had lost everything. There was no way, but I had two directions. I was at a point of dying or recovering. That was it. It was incredibly simple. I had no house to go back to. I had no relationship to go back to. I had nowhere to go. It's either recover or die. I mean, and it sounds dire, and it was, but it's so much better than, will my wife take me back, or will my job take me? Everybody was done with me. It was the most freeing experience at the time. And so I thought, in retrospect, probably the 10 guys that I were in the halfway house with 25 years ago, 25 years ago. Wow. I haven't been keeping up with all of them, but I don't think anyone else has stayed recovered or been in recovery that long. I'm sure. In fact, I know all of them has had at least one relapse. Some of them probably are still doing it. So, but I'm the only one that was just sort of stripped bare, nothing left. So by letting go and being able to let go of that, I had to reestablish new things. So this is the same thing. When you keep trying to get back what you had, it didn't work before. The odds of it working now are not, especially if that same, I keep ending up doing the same thing in the same relationships. And it just, you almost just invite it. It's incredible how we can sort of scan, and our energy vibration keeps finding that same person over and over again.
Yeah, so true. So let's get back to Alex's second question, because the second question was, you can phrase it better than I can, Alex, because I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but the gist of it was, what do you do about that? How do you work on yourself? What do you do?
Yeah, well, how do you get to a better you so you can attract a better person?
Okay, well, and that's sort of what we touched on there. You gotta stop. It's like you don't fix your parachute in midair. You fix your parachute before you jump. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
So what you do is you work on your parachute before you jump. It's going to be good. So it's the same thing here. You have to go on the premise, look, I keep doing this. The relationship has been the biggest, and there's people that are listening that have money problems that they could fill in the money problem too. It's the same thing.
Yeah, insert problem here.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have this relationship problem where I keep getting in these same things. So how do I change me? You have to stop trying to halfway fix it. It literally is almost like I got to clean the slate. I need to identify what I'm after, not what I'm not after. You know, I'll often hear, I want a man who will not cheat on me, or I want a man that wants to make me a priority. I mean, and they have the list of the negatives. I want one that always will, versus I want a partner who feels the same way about this. I want a partner that is looking for a collaborative relationship where it's, and by the way, a disclaimer, I am horrible in relationships. So let me just get that out there. But at the same time, I'm very comfortable. I've been dating the same woman for several years now, but I don't want to be married. I don't want, I found what works for me, but historically over the years, I just keep, and so I realized that. So what I found, I did finally find what I want, and it's not what a lot of people would want, but I don't want to be encumbered and I view being trapped when I'm lost in a relationship. That's sort of my thing. So I'm finding someone who allows me the freedom. She lives in a different city. We get together 2 or 3 times a month and more sometimes we need to, but we talk almost every day. But and she's almost the same. She's not almost, she's the same way. She doesn't want all that. She's a pediatric, head of ICU pediatric at a big hospital. And so she has a job similar to mine, a lot going on. So, that's her passion. I'm passionate about my job. So we realized that. So we found that. So with that sort of disclaimer in place, finding what you really want. Everybody has almost this Hollywood image or what you're being sold of what you want in a relationship. Everybody wants that. That doesn't apply to everyone. It doesn't. And so when you realize that, first of all, what are you after? What are the most important things? And if the first thing you're saying is, I want somebody who will make me feel a certain way, that's clearly, that's your job. So we start looking on, so and that's what I'll do. I say, well, they always get set up with this question. So when you find the person who you're looking for, that's my first question. How will they make you feel? And they'll inevitably answer. And I'll say, okay, well, let's start with that. You have to start feeling that way first. It's not another person that can do that for you. And then once they grasp that, at first they're looking at you like, well, they don't understand that. But once you get them to the place of, and that's the sort of the checklist I go over when it comes to what does your perfect person do for you? How do they make you feel? And then I use that same checklist to say, okay, here's the list of things we have to do before you start looking, because this is what you need to happen before you can attract the person, because nobody can do that for you but you. And so they almost give you your own checklist of the work they have to do. And so it just like for me, the one of the relationship I had before this one several years ago, I don't want to feel trapped or like I'm keeping time of how much time. It's just this thing. I like this freedom thing. I want to be able to do what I want to do. And so I was dating this woman and I had a lot going on. And so we met for lunch one day and, and I never really thought about this. She said, well, I feel like I'm, my son TJ, had him in foster care. So at the time I had a lot happening. And she just couldn't understand. And so as I kept looking at my watch, and she said, do you have somewhere to be? And I go, well, actually, it's an early day for school to let out. I got to go get TJ from school. So yeah, I do. And she said, so you've allowed us 45 minutes together today. And I go, well, I didn't plan it that way. And so she then she pulled out her notes that she had taken. She said, we spent 7 hours together in the last month.
Yo!
Well, I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, and then I started, so that immediately hit my button. And her button is people not spending time with her. So we attracted each other. We both her thing was, I want to be someone's biggest priority. That was her big thing. That's what she thought she wanted. And I was like, nah. And she looked at me and she said, well, I'm not your biggest priority. And I go, well, I mean, to be honest, no, you're not. I don't mean to mean you're not. And, she said, well, I need somebody that I'm their biggest priority. I said, well, I clearly, and we actually had a very non-emotional, non-argumentative state. I said, we're looking for different things, and we're going to, your need to have somebody constantly there and constantly holding hands and it's 100 degrees outside and she wants to be hugging all the time. Well, oh God, no, stay away. Yeah. And I'm the opposite. And so we have all that. It clearly, we attracted what we didn't want. And that was when I started understanding it instead of what I wanted. So that's the piece of you get what you think you want, then figure out how to feel that, live that. And then it's really easy to track and that's how I attracted the person I have in my life now. It's just that I stopped looking for someone because I kept saying, I don't want anyone who wants to control me and keep up with my time. Well, I kept attracting people who wanted to control me and keep up with my time. That's what I was attracting. And it was like, I can see the pattern now. And what I wanted to do is attract, I want to attract somebody who shared similar experiences, somebody who really understood, like law of attraction and the sort of metaphysical stuff and enjoyed those kind of conversations. Who I looked at all the stuff the commonality, and that's what I attracted.
Mm-hmm.
That's really something. You made a comment early on there that I just wanted to respond to because I'm sure it's true. I'm sure your comment is true. This is what most people feel. Most people look at a Hollywood film and say, yes, I want that. I was a rare exception. I didn't see any relationships in Hollywood on film that I liked. And let me tell you, that's really confusing because society is telling you this is the way relationships work. And I said, I don't want that. What am I supposed to do?
Well, now it's even worse with social media and the whole couples goal situation. Everybody's portraying a certain idea on social media when in reality, that's not what's going on. In reality, they're throwing vases and having arguments and all kinds of stuff. But you don't see that. All you see is, we spent the day in the park with the kids and look at these beautiful pictures / couples goals, so. Or, your boyfriend pays for you to get your nails done and you're all, get you a man who can do both and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. In social media, in today's world of law of attraction, again, with everything, it can have an incredible, what I love about social media, it brings together like-minded people. We can find new ideas, or it could be, looking at people's images. One of the unique perspectives that I have as doing the job I do is I know what's happening in people's lives because they're seeing me, they're talking, I know what's going on. And then to see their Facebook or their Instagram version of the same life that I know what's going on, it's just incredible that they are putting it out there. Yeah. And it's not, this is what I want in a healthy way. This is a false image of what's happening. I mean, I'm all in favor of saying this is what I would like for our relationship to be, but they're presenting it as that's what it is, but yet the stuff going on behind the scenes. And so that creates other people looking at it going, I want their relationship. And I'm like, if you knew their relationship, you would not want you wouldn't want it. But the Facebook relationship looks awesome, but it doesn't resemble the reality.
Yeah.
It's almost like people are creating their own Hollywoods.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's what it is.
Well, I have. It is one of those things when you see, these romantic comedies where, oh yes, this happened perfectly, and Harry met Sally, and this happened, and it unfolds, and the reality is just so preposterous because but what happens is people say, well, see, that could happen to me. What could happen is you get on the right vibrational level and then anything's possible. But until you change it there, Tom Hanks is not going to be coming into your life, or whatever relevant person today would be. I mean, it's just, it's just not there. But it's not about anything but where we're at vibrationally. And that, when you understand that, when you understand why this goes, how it works, I've seen people with opposite religious and political beliefs. I've seen people but they vibrate on the same emotional level of what they're after. They have great relationships. I mean, it really is. But when you're vibrating on about what you're trying to avoid or what you're fearing in life, or it just sets you up for an incredible, very sad failure-based, and you get into these cycles. I mean, as I said, I have so many people that I see get into it. I would love, it's funny because I said I'll often ask people who have relationship issues, when they come to me, how am I going to attract someone? I ask them to take time off. It seems counterintuitive, but it's what works.
Yeah.
And, you see that. You like, okay, take time off from that. Let's rebuild where you're at. Let's see what we're really trying to do, and then go at it. It does change the perspective, and the idea that, I came to you to how to attract, how to get somebody in my life, and that's what I want to do. But you got to start here versus you want to try to adjust where you're at, and you're not in a mindset to do that. And people that are willing to do it, and equally, one of my things, especially to my the younger crowd that I work with, and most of them are unable to do this, by the way. If you can let's delete the social media apps. Let's get off social media for 30 days.
What?
30 days. Let's detox from it. Yes. Yeah.
Go off the grid for 30 days? People think I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you get.
My mama.
Yeah. But the ones that do it, yeah, but most of the dysfunctional relationships of young people have social media origins of he liked her picture or this, that, the Instagram, all this stalking of Instagram. And it just really creates, it's hard enough to date. It's hard enough to find a bond and build it together. It's almost impossible when social media is interfering with the natural process. And that's, you see that. And I'm not saying it can't be a good tool, but it's people that, that social media is creating a problem for still, but they can't put it down. It's just like you're saying, they can't. But the ones that do have amazing results.
I love the fact that you mentioned When Harry Met Sally, and you indicated as what people are thinking that they want the relationship to look like. But it occurred to me, I mean, that was like it was Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, and throughout that entire movie, those two are sparring constantly. I mean, there was not a big loving relationship going on there throughout that movie. It was always, her talking about how guys always behave a certain way, and him behaving, talking about how girls always. I mean, it was just this constant fight going on. And people point at that and say, well, that's the relationship I want. I say, really? You really want a relationship where you're constantly fighting the other person? But that is what people tend to do. They tend to reach out and find those relationships, and then they wonder why they fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Is that why there was no Harry Met Sally 2?
Probably. Well, either that or else they were in so much therapy that they couldn't handle it. I don't know which.
Yeah, I went out on a limb. I've never seen the movie, so
I've never seen it either.
It was a great example, though, of what we're talking about. It really was.
I think people look for what people really need is totally different from what makes them comfortable, and I think people are in search for what makes them comfortable, and that's why I want.
That's a brilliant line, Alex. A brilliant line.
Thank you.
Yes, seriously, you're the biggest. I think the biggest source of unhappiness is the programming that we are seeking comfort. Comfort is healthy. The most uncomfortable, unproductive. Comfort is the biggest cause of people not being functional, of not achieving their goals. Comfort is unhealthy. Growth does not take place in comfort. we have somehow equated the least amount of energy and effort that I need to put out to achieve my goals is good. It's uncomfortable to work hard. It's uncomfortable versus the mindset of let's go after it. Let's go grind. Let's do these things. But comfort is debilitating. I've seen more fortunes lost over seeking comfort. I've seen more lives lost over the inability to get out of the comfort zone. Brilliant minds crumble in the comfort zone.
Wow. Yeah. That's quite an observation. And I'm thinking back to, like I said, I never really liked watching Hollywood movies for the purpose of understanding how relationships work, because for me they didn't work. And whenever I tried to relate to somebody in a real relationship, I always got the feeling like I was supposed to be the leading man. And not only did I not know the lines, I didn't want to be the leading man. That was not my goal. So for me, it was confusing. But the confusion, I think, for somebody else, for most people who like that, who find that, yes, but what I see in the movies is a mirror of what I'm looking for. Their confusion is going to be more along the lines of what you guys have been talking about, which is I keep attracting the same, the same murderer back into my life over and over again, the same person who keeps destroying me, the same person who keeps disappointing me. And invariably, I do it in a way that says, okay, I just hooked into this new relationship. I'm so excited. I'm in love. And then 3 days later, it's falling apart. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. And then I do it again.
Yeah. Well, the psychology, comfort, we become comfortable in familiarity. It's like, even though it's dysfunctional, I see people get stuck in this comfort that's so frustrating to watch. It's incredibly dysfunctional. It offers no logical solution to life, but yet we still keep falling into it. Because it's a perceived comfort. What you're familiar with is you're comfortable with. It's so, the idea that they go together, and I'm familiar with dysfunctional relationships, so I'm comfortable with that. So I'm actually unintentionally attracting more of these dysfunctional relationships, and it's a cycle that some people spend their entire lives in. And it's just, it's baffling. It is really baffling, but it's understandable because because we know how the law of attraction works, but the great effort in life, the idea that effort and struggle and growth and all that stuff can be so positive and so out there versus the idea of, let me retreat into comfortable thought and behavior, which almost always nothing changes in a comfort zone. So it's just, it's toxicity in its finest in the comfort zone. But yet that's almost like, and you're being sold that too. Like we're talking about on TV. It's, it's going to, this could be your life if you were doing it right. No energy, no effort. And that's how an athlete, to achieve greatness as an athlete, you have to push your body to levels that would kill some people. Or people that want to be a neurosurgeon have to learn, or nuclear scientists, they have to learn stuff that it hurts my brain to even understand what they have to learn. I mean, I don't even know what they have to learn, but it's just, the thought of some of that stuff, like, wow, I'm not a dumb man, but I cannot imagine what and I could do it. But I am certainly not willing to. Oh my God, with my ADD, I'm not going to learn all that, and not going to do that. But you see it, and it's not comfortable. Being a neurosurgeon takes years. Being a nuclear scientist takes years. Becoming an expert in these really intense, you have to have a drive and have to be willing to be incredibly uncomfortable to be there. And thank God there's people doing that. Because we need them. And also you don't have to beat yourself up because not everybody's intended for that. But when you just get comfortable in what you have developed, and if you hate your life and you're applying the same structure and the same remedies for things, and you're shocked that your life doesn't change, that's being stuck in a dysfunctional comfort zone.
It sure is. While we've been doing the show, by the way, besides our live stream listeners, somebody's actually jumped on the Zoom platform with us. He's been on from the beginning, but he just indicated a little while back that he wanted to join us, so I'm going to bring him on. This is somebody who's been on before. His name is Sam from Los Angeles area. And Sam, I'm glad, first of all, that you're listening so early in the morning. Thank you for doing that. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing fine. Doing fine. What's happening in LA?
Not much, just working. I've been going to sleep so late the past couple months, and I've been exhausted in the morning. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to sleep early tonight. So I went to sleep at like 10 o'clock last night, and I woke up at like 4 a.m. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be able to actually be on the show today. So I was excited. And then the funny thing is, every time I'm on the show, it's always with you and this. I forgot this guy's name.
Joel.
What's the guy's name we're on with?
Joel Elston.
Joel, yeah. It's always been Joel, which is kind of funny. So then today's topic is really interesting, what you guys talk about, which is like, comfort zone and social media and stuff. And I got a question for Joel. When it comes to people who are single like me, and you go on Facebook and you see all these couples doing things like that, it kind of makes you depressed. And
Sure.
I haven't been on social media for a very long time. Like I go on there for like maybe 5-6 minutes, but I don't really stay on there at all anymore. But as for laws of attraction, I try to always keep myself like, hey, I'm going to find somebody and stuff. But then it just goes back to my endless loop of, I don't know, like I'm not going to find anybody. And then it just that whole negativity comes through, and I try really hard to take it away. But then I'm just like, I don't know. It's crazy. Any ideas for any things like that for single people like us or me?
Yeah. It's certainly, and I think you're much more the norm than most people think. When you're looking at what you're looking at, for example, when you look at social media and you're seeing it from I want that desperately, I want it really bad. Well, that alone is telling you that there's a lack attached to that. You're already like, I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So the law of attraction emotion is I don't have it. So you're thinking about, I want it really badly, or I really would love this. And so that, there's a difference when you're looking at it like I don't have it versus where am I at? What are the best things that are going on in your life right now? What is going right in your life? And how do you attract do you know what type of a person you want in a relationship? Do you have an image of that already?
No.
Okay, well that's something like, yeah. Well, I mean, like do you what's your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I work a lot, so I don't really have that much hobbies, but I like going to concerts, hanging out, being lazy at home, like the normal young kids do these days.
Mm-hmm.
Chill. So, working out, going to the gym, which I haven't gone in a long time, but yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, not that we can't find a lot out of that. First of all, you going to the gym. The idea, when you put yourself around like-minded people, it's yes, I want to go to the gym. I want to go to the gym. Wear a concert T-shirt to the gym, and some young lady, some person goes, hey, look, what that's a cool concert. Whatever, you'll make a connection. But putting out there's attached to the law of attraction, which I'm writing a book. It's called The Law of Action. That is probably the catalyst in this. Is you're working a lot, you're hanging out at the house, really not doing much. And so the odds of attracting something you want is going to be pretty slim in that scenario.
I go on Tinder and stuff, and I swipe left and right.
There you go.
That's the problem,
and so,
first of all.
Yeah. So,
Tinder is a hookup app, so that's not, if you're looking for a relationship, that's the wrong app to be on.
Yeah.
True, but I know some of my friends who found people on there, and which is crazy. I'm just like, well, why can't that be me? But it's just easier to just go left and right in your match, and you just go from there, But
easier is not always better. Easier is not always better. I mean, it's this is you're asking what's the best way to attract. I could. And not to be too graphic, but if you're looking for some good, some good, fast, clean, probably not clean, some good, fast sex, keep doing Tinder. There's no problem with that. It's just do it. That's fine. And I'm not opposed to that. What I am trying to hope, what I do hope you can see is you got to find somebody. Your mindset right now can only attract someone in your mindset. So by you getting back to the gym, by you getting sort of excited about your life, then you're going to have some way. Right now, I mean, I have great respect for people who work hard, but you have a lot of time. You said to be sitting around the house chilling. You get up, get to the gym, put yourself in a position where the law of action, when you go somewhere, the law of attraction then is picking up on that energy. Then you meet people. I'm not saying you can't look at all avenues of how to find people, but when you limit it to something that you're looking for a certain thing, and other people have found it, I'm happy for them if that's working for them, but you're not putting yourself in a position where you can really, really start feeling what you're looking for. You want to feel what you're searching for.
I see what you mean.
And not lacking it, because you're viewing it, I don't have a relationship. Well, right now, your life is pretty full with work, and you like to work out, but you're not working out. You like to go to concerts. So getting more into the work, that'd be the biggest thing. First of all, you'd look better, you'd feel better, you'd have more confidence. It would help with your mindset, and you're in probably the greatest city in the world. You can't throw a rock in out there and not hit a gym. So there's gyms everywhere. I mean, right. It's like churches here in Virginia. You got gyms out there. So you're really, really in a great place to attract what you want. But when you're looking at it this way, you're looking at it from a position of lack. You're versus a position of, I want to get out there and put myself, and that's where you're most likely to meet somebody. If you really believe in the law of attraction and energy vibration, when you adjust your energy to what you're really trying to attract, and then you go places where the potential, that's where things happen. That's when my versions of the sort of the law of attraction put people in your path, literally in your path. Somebody will be on the treadmill beside you. You'll see them looking at a magazine or looking at some concert or some group you love. Say, oh, I love that group or whatever. And that's how it happens. You are not going to, you may, but it's unlikely you're going to sit on your couch and swipe left or right. I don't know which one it is, and end up with somebody. It's not that you're not allowing the law of action to take place. The law of action means you need to adjust you and then what you're going to attract. So you got to work on your energy vibration. And there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of great self-hypnosis things on YouTube, a lot of meditations, but you're not vibrating on a level to attract.
I have a question too for Sam. My question, Sam, is do you enjoy trying new things, or do you find trying new things to be uncomfortable and unpleasant?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow. Both.
Both. Okay.
I mean, I like trying new things, but sometimes they're unpleasant. But when you do them, you're like, you know what? This is not bad after all. So it's like it's sort of trying to push yourself to do it. You know what I mean? Then once you do it, you're like, you know what? This is cool. This is all right. Like my friends sometimes make me go out to places or things that I want to do, or like I went to like an art museum a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine, and he was like, yeah, let's go. It'll be fun. I'm like, no, I don't really want to go. And I went. I was like, actually, you know what? This is actually kind of cool. So it just depends on, with me, you kind of have to like force me to do things but then once I do it, I like it. I'm like, you know what? This is really cool. I should do it. That's what happens with me. And then what Joe was saying is that you're totally right. I mean, that does make sense. You have to kind of do law of action to sort of get that going. Yeah, I haven't gone to the gym in a long time because I work, and then once I work and I come home, I'm just so tired that I don't really want to go to the gym. But then I'm thinking that I don't have to go every single day. I can go on the weekends when I'm actually off and things like that. So putting that out there kind of makes sense. to kind of go from there and kind of start doing that in a way. And I really need to.
What kind of work do you? Yeah. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an IT guy. I do IT work in LA. So I work for a company, for a finance company, and do like tech support and things like that.
So is it safe to say you're mentally exhausted, not physically exhausted?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the remedy for being mentally exhausted is?
No.
To get physically exhausted. Seriously.
Really?
It is the cure. Yes. You go work out, you get physically exhausted, you clean out the sort of the receptors in your brain from all the stress and all the stuff that's there. I promise you, if you work out after work, I don't care what again, you're in LA, there 24-hour gyms are everywhere. Yeah. Go work out for an hour after work. You will have so much more energy, so much clear-headed.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I'm going to try that. And I'm going to get back
to it and call us next week, and that'll be step one. Forget everything else. Step one, work out. Five times between now and Thursday, call us.
Okay, deal. I'll do that.
All right.
Okay.
Hey,
alrighty.
That's a good ending right there. It's a good way to.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're out of time.
That's a good way to finish the show, though. That's absolutely excellent. So, Sam, thank you very much for sharing, because you brought us a great conclusion. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you guys so much. I love this show so much. It's been so hard to get up in the morning early to listen to you.
Well, we appreciate the fact that you do. So thank you very much. Thank you, Joel and Alex. Thank you to our live stream and our podcast listeners as well. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody. Turn off the live stream and we turn off the